It's possible I'm a Booker Prize fraud. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to a video in which I kind of discuss my relationship with the Booker Prize and talk a little bit about this year's long list. So a while back, a week or two ago, I did a video called The Booker Dozen, which I was supposed to pick out 13 Booker Prize listed books that were my favorite. Well, I could only come up with 11. At the time, I thought, well, this is because I don't pay that much attention to the Booker Prize, and therefore, I don't set out to read all the books on the long list, the short list, or even all the winners, because it was a little bit difficult for me to kind of narrow down the list. But that kind of made me, when the Booker Prize long list was announced Tuesday, I kind of got curious about the books on the list, and then about kind of how I relate to the Booker Prize. I heard Greg in his reaction video, Greg at Supposedly Fun, his reaction video, say that he views the long list as kind of a tool for discovering authors and books, and I kind of think about it that way too. But then when I went back to look at kind of my history with the Booker Prize, I found out something surprising. First of all, I really don't make much of an intention of reading the Booker Prize list or winners, but I was surprised to find that when I counted that I have read 12 Booker Prize winning books going back a couple of decades, and that of those 12 Booker Prize winners, I've liked 9. So the 12 Booker Prize winning books I read are Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, Oscar and Lucinda, Remains of the Day, The English Patient, Patty Clark, Ha Ha Ha, How Late It Was, How Late, The Ghost Road, Disgrace, Life of Pi, Wolf Hall, Lincoln in the Bardo, and Milkman. Now, of those 12, I really only liked 9. The 3 I didn't really care for were Midnight's Children. I'm kind of on record as saying I didn't really care for Midnight's Children very much, and that definitely, kind of putting me in a minority. I also didn't care for Oscar and Lucinda very much, and then I was underwhelmed by Wolf Hall, is what I would say. I can certainly respect the writing and the research and the skill in that book, but it just really didn't speak to me. It really didn't appeal to me. Whereas, Milkman is, I think, just a truly great book, as is Disgrace by Coetzee. Just truly great books on the list. And so I thought, well, am I just one of those people who only reads the winner? More so than I thought. I was surprised that there were that many Booker Prize winners over the last couple of decades that I'd actually read. And I think I thought this about myself because last year I only read, I think, 2 books that were listed. I can't remember long or short listed for the Booker Prize, and that was The Colony and then Small Things Like These by Clara Keegan. I believe those are the only 2 Booker Prize listed books that I read. Neither of those won, and so I kind of picked those books up as I was talking about, as a way of discovering new authors and books, and based just on kind of the description and what sounded interesting to me. And that's generally speaking how I approach the list when it comes out. I look at the list, I see if there are books I recognize, authors I recognize. I watch a whole lot of reaction videos. I've watched pretty much all the reaction videos, as well as some people who have done reviews of books that are on this year's list. I've watched some of those, particularly if they did the review or I know they read the book before the list came out. I've watched some of those, and in an attempt to kind of figure out if and I want to read me books from the Booker Prize list, and if so, what those are. And so I came up with a list of books that I want to read from the Booker Prize list, and my own kind of reasons. A list of, let's say, 3 or 4 books that I really think I want to read, and then maybe 1 or 2 others that I'm not as sure that I want to read. So one of the books I want to read that's on the list that I'm pretty sure I want to read is The House of Doors by Tan Tuan Ang, who I believe, from watching these videos, has been long listed 2 other times. This is a book set in Malaysia, and it centers around a visit to Malaysia from the author W. Somerset Maugham, and I love books about writers and authors, and Maugham, I've read The Razor's Edge, and I really liked it, and so I was interested in that book because I know that one of the characters in the book is an actual person, an actual writer. Even if that's not necessarily what the focus of the book is, I found that to be kind of interesting and enough to kind of pull me in. Then the second one I thought sounded interesting was All the Little Bird Hearts by Victoria Lloyd, what's her last name? Barrow, by Victoria Lloyd Barrow. This is about a neurodivergent woman and her life, and how I believe new neighbors kind of upset her life and what she wants and things like that. And that just sounded interesting to me because the topic of a neurodivergent protagonist and reading, about that sounded interesting to me. Pearl by Hughes also I thought sounded really interesting, in part because it reminded me of Ghost in the Throat by Darren McGriffith, which is kind of a memoir-y kind of book about that author's relationship with a Irish King poem. In this book, the young woman becomes kind of obsessed with a medieval poem called The Pearl, and it kind of becomes entwined in her life. And I think that sounds really interesting to me. And then possibly also then Study for Obedience by Sarah, what is her name, Bernstead? I wish I could have written my own. Well, anyway, so there the book is, and I'll have it up over here. The book is Study for Obedience, which just sounds a little bit weird. I believe the blurb says a young woman goes to live with her brother whose wife's left them, and there's some kind of like suspiciousness, and one of those things where somebody moves to a neighborhood and they immediately fall under suspicion for all kinds of things that are happening. I'm also, in my kind of more maybe pile, I put In Ascension by Martin McInnes. This is a book I saw praised by a number of people, but since it came out and was read, I've also seen a number of people who didn't particularly like it. So it kind of fell from a book where I was for sure going to read it to a book where I don't. And my suspicion is that if In Ascension wins, that I will end up never reading it, because oftentimes this is what happens to me with books that are highly praised by lots of people, and then I just never end up reading them. And then the other one I was interested in is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. That book sounds interesting to me, based on its premise and based on kind of the fact that it is, I think, it's the one that hasn't been published yet, and therefore it's probably the least known. And for whatever reason, that is intriguing to me. So, I'm not a great follower of book prizes, and I'm certainly not up to date, or as up to date as lots of people are, about the Booker Prize. But I did, was kind of curious about myself and what I thought about the Booker Prize and how I'd approached it in recent years, and how that would affect my choices for what I wanted to read for the prize list this year. I'm not going to try to read all the long list books. I'm not going to try to read all the short list books. I've made my choices, and I will try to acquire copies of a few of these, and even if they don't progress the short list, I will read the books I've chosen to read, even if one of them doesn't happen to be the winner. Anyway, I just wanted to get in on the Booker Prize discussion, because it feels like a real community thing, and I enjoy those kinds of things. So I wanted to get in on the Booker Prize discussion, excitement, and make my own video. Let me know what you think about the books I've listed that I want to read. If you have ideas or thoughts about them, I'd look forward to those comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.